So anyway, back to what we were saying when we left. I was saying how I wanted to discuss the NRA, and you know, here's my problem. Okay, the NRA has recently come out against open carry. All right, you all might have heard this, but they came out with a statement talking about open carry Texas and their demonstrations. And one of the things that they said is that they're downright scary and weird. Really, NRA? Really? Come on. You know, this is really frustrating for me. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard that. You know, I knew for a while that the NRA was not necessarily the biggest supporters of open carry, but this truly shocked me. So anyway, I have a clip here from about the NRA talking about open carry Texas. So here it is.
The National Rifle Association is taking aim at the tactics of some Texas gun rights activists. The NRA is using terms like weird and scary to describe open carry protesters who take their rifles into restaurants and other public establishments. Fox 4's Melissa Cutler on this story tonight. Melissa, very unusual here, the NRA going after gun rights supporters with language like that, right?
Yeah, Steve, you know, you never hear stuff like that, and that's what made so many people sit up and take notice. The gun lobby has been seen as one group together in lockstep advocating the same thing. This is among the first time there seems to be a distancing of one group from another.
Memorial Day weekend in Fort Worth, an open carry event turns confrontational.
I'm following this guy around.
A local Marine who went to the event with his camera claims he was followed and harassed.
Paul's Media Productions. Anything else you want to know? 'Cause I'm not the one out here threatening and being scary.
The open carry folks say they felt threatened and started filming him for their safety. But this incident and other cases of protesters carrying rifles into restaurants have gotten the NRA's attention. Last Friday, the NRA's lobby group published an online letter saying these protesters are crossing the line from enthusiasm to downright foolishness. It's not only rare, but it's starting to look downright weird and downright scary.
And so it's very disheartening to see an organization that's touted to be the #1 proponent of gun rights in America throwing their own members under the bus.
A spokesman for Open Carry Texas says the NRA shouldn't have gone public. Instead, it should have contacted groups privately.
What I think was wrong about it is the fact that the Second Amendment is very, very straightforward. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And so any organization that claims to support gun rights in America should stand behind any group that's looking to further that message.
But gun lobbyists say the public tactics are hurting the goal of trying to expand open carry laws to include handguns. In a podcast on the website opencarryreport.com, one very influential gun rights lobbyist described an encounter last April with a Republican lawmaker at the state capitol.
Every office I went into today asked me, can't you do something to stop the rifle demonstrations? Nobody wants to hear this, but the message is being lost.
Just to be clear, that is Alice Tripp, Texas State Rifle Association. So anyway, we'll continue on with it. Here you go.
Gun rights advocates warn the NRA is giving ammunition to anti-gun groups. One of those groups, Moms Demand Action, said, "We are gratified that the NRA is supporting our agenda by admitting that open carry groups in Texas are going too far. Their actions are senseless and disturbing to Texas families and responsible gun owners."
The gun advocates believe the NRA should retract its statements because they are sowing division among Second Amendment supporters. Open Carry Tarrant County, the group who actually confronted the Marine, was not immediately available for comment. Steve?
Melissa, a couple quick questions. You say gun advocates want the NRA to retract. You mean the Open Carry Tarrant County gun advocates, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Just to kind of go more broadly, on Facebook, Fox 4's, mine, probably yours, a lot of comments from people who describe themselves as concealed handgun owners, hunters, gun enthusiasts, using the same kind of NRA language to describe what they're seeing as weird. Is this NRA statement a step we're going to hear more about? Is this the beginning of divisiveness between gun rights folks, do you think?
Well, it's really hard to say at this juncture. The statement's certainly, in some people's eyes, divisive as far as the gun rights groups are concerned, but is it going to pit one against the other? It could start to, if there's wide disagreement on the methodology of getting their point across. For example, if gun rights groups come across as aggressors, they could really change the paradigm. The groups are all independent of each other. For example, Open Carry Texas is not the same as Open Carry Tarrant County, even though those names are very similar, but they do often show up at the same demonstration, so it's understandable for people to think it's actually the same group, and actually they're very, very separate.
All right,
so, this is the divisiveness. This is the divisiveness that Charlton Heston was talking about. The NRA is actually perpetuating division within the 2A community, the Second Amendment community. I hear all the time, and I know I've spoke about it before, and it really frustrates me beyond belief when I hear somebody say, I support the Second Amendment, but I don't support open carry, or but I this, that, or something else, okay? Look, if you support the Second Amendment, it is very, very clear-cut. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Shall not. And that's a very strong word. Shall not. Those two words, very strong, all right? It's very clear-cut. There's no real way to interpret it any different other than the fact that any law that is passed which infringes on someone's right to bear arms is unconstitutional. So keep this in mind, all right? Every single law that is on the books right now is, in fact, infringing on the right to bear arms. Every gun control measure, everything is currently in violation of the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution, every single law. Now, with that said, if you say, I support the Second Amendment, but, and then you follow it with some kind of stipulation saying that, but only under this circumstance you support it, then you, in fact, actually do not support the Second Amendment. It says shall not be infringed. So what you're saying is, I support the right to keep and bear arms uninfringed, except I have certain stipulations. So now it would be infringed. Does that make sense? I mean, to me, it does not make sense. You literally do not support the Second Amendment. If that is the case, if that's where you stand, that's fine. You have every right to your opinion. I have no problem with you having an opinion or stating your opinion. You have a right to freedom of speech. You have a right to have an opinion. However, you are lying to yourself and anyone else when you say that you support the Second Amendment, but you don't support the Second Amendment. You may like guns and you may like the fact that you can have guns, but you support carrying guns the way that you support carrying guns, the way that you see fit. Not uninfringed. The Second Amendment is pretty clear about that. Uninfringed. All right, so this is what I call sunshine patriots, okay? I've talked about it before. It's not my idea. It's not my name, but, this is exactly the definition of a sunshine patriot. When things are hard, you fold, you compromise. It's difficult. So we don't want to do it. We don't want to try to push this issue. Let me just give you full disclosure here, everybody. I am a life member of the NRA. I also open carry. And with that said, I have a dog in this fight. I am really upset at the NRA for this press release condemning open carry, basically. And I can't even begin to understand why they thought that this was a good idea, because it is a bad idea. It is a bad idea. This is sowing division within the ranks. I mean, it's hard enough to gain support for open carry to begin with, okay? It's right, but it's hard to get support from the NRA and other just people that are sunshine patriots, basically, and like, I only really want to support the carrying of firearms concealed. I think you should have a right to a firearm, but only concealed. I don't want you to show that. I don't want you to have it out on your hip and I want nobody to see it. I don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. Well, let me just point out the fact, everybody, that you have a right to keep and bear arms, and it's constitutionally protected. and you have a constitutional protection for the government not to be able to infringe it. But nowhere in the Constitution that I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, people, do you have a right to not be offended. You don't have that right to not be offended by somebody lawfully, legally, not threatening somebody. Now, I understand if you're pointing the gun at somebody, all right, that's different. That's a threat. Pointing a gun at somebody is a threat. Shooting a gun is a threat. I mean, that's a big deal. That kind of situation, that's when you start infringing on other people's rights. It's kind of the same argument, where someone's rights begin, yours end, kind of those situations, as long as you both are lawfully, legally, constitutionally asserting your rights and you're not harming anyone else, there's no problem. But you don't have a right to not be offended. You don't have a right to feel comfortable because somebody is asserting their rights and making you feel uncomfortable. Big deal. You have a right to leave the area. You have a right to mosey on down the road and get away from that situation if it makes you feel uncomfortable, but you don't have a right to not feel uncomfortable. All right? And like I said, about the NRA, I have known for a long time that they don't truly support open carry. And so this was really no surprise to me, but their statement, I cannot believe that they released this statement. It's going to be used for the rest of time by anti-gun groups. This has got to be the worst thing that's happened to the gun rights movement that I've seen personally. With the exception of the mass shootings and everything that are being heavily publicized every chance that they get. I mean, that's obviously a big blow to open carry, to gun rights, things like that. And it's a horrible, tragic event. Those are awful tragedies. But let's be clear about those things. The vast, vast majority of those things are happening from the mentally deranged. The vast majority of these things are happening on soft targets in gun-free zones. That's a fact. I mean, it's just a fact. We have a problem. The problem is the dismantling of our mental health system that happened by who? The liberals. The liberals started dismantling our mental health system. And now we've got all these people out on the streets that probably shouldn't be there. They're a danger to society. So now they're getting guns and they're shooting people. Let's start with the real problem. These people shouldn't be out there in the first place. They're a danger to society. And I have a problem with the so-called most influential gun rights organization, the NRA, speaking out against gun rights. I mean, they had Mothers Demand Action agree with them. They said, thank you for agreeing with us. Are you freaking kidding me? Look, I understand the NRA's point, even though I disagree with it, but they're playing politics. And what do I mean by that? They argue that open carry is such a divisive issue that they fear that it will and has affected their ability to lobby new gun-friendly laws. All right, that may be true. They may have, in fact, had issues with that. But first of all, let me just say that if you know something is right, and by right I mean not a right, I mean it is correct, it doesn't matter what other people say. All right? Let me just point out the fact that we have the right to bear arms. It's a natural human right. It's not given to us by the Constitution, though it is constitutionally protected. The Constitution does not give you anything. Neither do laws or politicians. I totally disagree with the NRA's spinelessness. And in my opinion, we need to clean house in the NRA, just like in the Republican Party. They're using the same tactics that the rhinos in the establishment Republican Party are doing too. And they can't do what's right because it's hard. Oh, it's hard. It's hard to get support. It's hard to win. I'm afraid we may lose. You know what? Stand up for your principles. Otherwise, you will lose. You lose supporters when you don't actually stand up for what's right. I'm not afraid. And why is that? Why am I not afraid? Why don't I worry about the majority taking away my rights? Because they can't. My rights are inherent. They'll always be there. They can try to take them. But like a real patriot, Charlton Heston once said, take my guns when they pry them from my cold, dead hands. Charlton Heston didn't worry about coming across too strong. He wasn't worried about being downright scary. He was worried about individual freedom being attacked. It seems like the only thing that the NRA these days is worried about is compromising our rights away. So, and it is really, they have compromised and compromised. We are, as gun owners, we are the most compromising people in the world. We have compromised and compromised. We've given up so many rights. We now need permission from the government in many states by carrying a permit, getting a license. We need permission in order to do something that is considered a right. We need to ask permission from the government. Hey, government, is it okay if I have a gun? Oh, thank you. Thanks for allowing me. How is it a right if I have to ask for permission to do it? Why do I have to ask for permission to do something that is a right? Why am I treated like a criminal for trying to purchase a gun, which is a right? I get background checked. They check to see if I'm a criminal. This kind of stuff, this is stuff that we have compromised on every step of the way. Who doesn't compromise? The liberals. They want us to compromise on everything. They want you and me to give up everything, and they'll do that little by little. Look, we need to keep the guns out of the hands of crazy people. We need to protect the children. So, hey, let's put in more background checks. Oh, what do you know, like the children? Look, it's steps like this. We've lost so much ground. We've lost so much ground in terms of our gun rights. What have they given? The liberals don't give anything. They don't compromise. The only thing that they've compromised on is they've allowed us to keep our guns this long. They're coming for your guns. We need to unify. With that said, I'm not leaving the NRA. I will make my stand and try to change the NRA. This is a message for all of you NRA members out there. We need to look long and hard at this organization. We need to clean house. We need to get this group back on track, because it appears to me that we've fallen off the rails at some point. We're attacking other gun right groups publicly, and I don't believe it. I cannot believe it. This is not the way to get things done. So all of you NRA members out there, myself included, fix it.